So we're gonna do a couple more little intro type things that I think will be helpful to you in the long run. So I'm just gonna open up a random uh, texture that I used earlier. So there's a handful of things that are going to be kind of useful to think about. So adjustments. So in here, it's kind of similar to what we'd use in Photoshop, but we have brightness, temperature, tint, hue, saturation, vibrance, color, those types of things. Curves, we have levels, threshold, posterize, desaturate, and invert. Um, so here's the thing. So these are really cool options, but one of the things that is obviously a little different from Photoshop is that we can't go back in and make those like adjust it or change it or any of that stuff after the fact. And so once you do it, it's done. And so you can't. There's not like an adjustment layer window thing like there is in Photoshop. So you kind of have to be conscious about your choices. There is the Command Z to step backwards, so that's kind of helpful. Some of the other things actually that are similar to that in Photoshop, like the space bar. If I hit the space bar, let's zoom in. If I hit the space bar, I can move it around, right? It turns into that hand. So that's good to know. Um, so I'm going to make a duplicate of this layer, right? Because we want to be additive, right? So I made a duplicate, and I'm actually just going to hide this layer. Okay, so now if I make adjustments, I still have that original one, so I'm not going to mess anything up. I always can go back to it. So one of the things that I think is going to be really useful is in this project that we're going to do is messing around with the color of things. And so I am going to do a color balance. You can mess around with the other ones too, like the highlights or any of that stuff. So I want this to be more of like a blue color. So I'm going to take the red out. I'm going to bring blue up. That's green. That's going to be more red. Take the green out. It's purple. So we're just kind of making some adjustments here to see what we can get to. I want it to be a little more blue than green. Let's take the red out totally. Oh, one of the reasons too is that I actually have to go to my shadows and do a similar thing. That's what's going on. So let's take my red all the way out. So now you can actually see it's turning blue a little bit more. Highlights, which are these ones. Take my red out, and I can hit preserve luminosity or not. So now, right, because it kind of keeps it at that really bright, intense bit. But if I take that out, then we can kind of see it actually gets closer to what I actually wanted. So I'm going to hit apply. Right, you can see, boom, there you go. So now we have a black background. So if I was going to do that for, like this Tony the Tiger, you can totally see how that would work, right? So I can actually, now I can have this as my background. I would go here and lock it, right? So now that's my background. Let's make another duplicate of this. Duplicate. Okay, I'm gonna hide this one. Let's show this one. So let's mess around with a couple other things. Another way to kind of make that I think is helpful is with my marquee tool, sorry, my lasso tool. And you can make adjustments actually this way too, and actually make copies as well. So let's say I want to get this shape. Okay, let's say I really like that shape. I'm going to hit Command C to copy it, Command V to paste, right? And now I have my layer, right? So that's kind of cool. So let's hide that one. Let's go back to this background copy. Another kind of thing that's kind of nice is that I can do a similar thing. Okay, and let's say I want this to be like darker or so let's go to brightness and contrast with that. So you could see how if like let's say if we were looking at this toucan Sam here, right? So we made a base shape for his nose, but I could go in and actually do sections by section and adjust that color balance just for that nose. Or maybe instead of color balance, I'll do hue and saturation, right? So you can see I can change change stuff that way too. Okay, so let's actually let's say I'll just mess around and kind of show you the nose really quick. So let's say I make that shape with Toucan Sam's nose. That is one ugly nose, but that's okay. Command C, Command V, right? So now I have that. I'm going to hide this background so I can actually see what I'm doing here. I'm going to make maybe this time I'm going to do a polygon, right? Because that way it's straight lines. So I'm going to go in there. You can see that's what's selected. I'm going to go to adjustments, hue and saturation, and that front I am going to go really dark with it. So I brought my saturation all the way down and my lightness all the way down. You can see it turned almost to a black. We'll hit apply, boom. So now I can do a similar type of thing. All right, so now I'm gonna make more of like a pink color. And it's okay, because this is the only part that I'm actually adjusting is in here. So I'm gonna go adjustments, hue and saturation. And this time I'm gonna try to find like a pinkish color. Right, and I can adjust my saturation so I can go more intense, less intense. So I'm gonna hit apply. Great. Let's do that again. Actually, you know what I should have done is so let's back up. So if I really look at it, we can see it goes from here all the way across, and then maybe I can adjust that one on top. So let's try doing that. So let's try to work smarter, not harder here. So I'm trying to get, there we go. Here, and then it kind of does one of these things. Yes, making noises does help. Adjustments, hue and saturation. So we're going to go to like that pinkish color. I'm going to hit apply. And then let's make another one. Okay, so let's do adjustments, hue and saturation. Let's see if we can get it to like a red now. Let's go intense with it. And because it's we already started with that pink. You see it's a little bit trickier to get to that red now. Oh, did I just see one? We'll call that red. Apply. Cool. And now I'm going to do my last part. Or maybe I just leave it, right? Because it's already yellow. So you can see just by making some adjustments or by cutting it out and then using the lasso tool, right? That's how I made that. So that's kind of neat. Let's see. So in my adjustments though, you also see there's like all the other things that we do too. But there's also filters, right? So I could just use the same kind of thing and do filters on that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that should be helpful and useful for that